Hello everyone, in this lecture video, I'll be discussing the continuation of Stoichiometry Part 4. We are now in Part 4b. We will be tackling how to compute reaction yield. Let me start. Reaction yield, or the percent yield of a chemical reaction, is simply the percent ratio of the actual yield to the theoretical yield. It is calculated using the formula. You have your percent yield. Okay, percent yield is equal to actual yield, or AY, all over your theoretical yield, or TY, multiplied by 100. So again, I'm just abbreviating it, but nonetheless, you get the idea. Your percent yield is simply the quotient between your actual yield and theoretical yield times 100, since we're talking about percentage. Let's first differentiate theoretical and actual yield. As the name suggests, theoretical. That means, in theory, the theoretical yield of a chemical reaction is the amount of product or the maximum that would result if all the limiting reagent reacted. So meaning to say, when we say theoretical yield, it looks like ito po yung nanggaling sa computation, ito yung nanggaling in writing. It shows us the theoretical yield, meaning to say yung in theory or in writing, ganito kadami dapat o ito yung maximum na amount of product in percentage kapag lahat ng limiting reagent ay nagamit. Again, theoretical yield shows you the percentage, the maximum amount in terms of percentage kapag lahat ng limiting reagent ay nagamit. Whereas the actual yield, this is very anchored in reality, kaya siya actual. Okay, actual yield is the amount of product that was actually obtained. So yung actual yield naman po ay nagpapakita ng percentage kung gaano kadami in actuality or in reality yung na-obtain na product galing sa reaction. So si theoretical yield, binibigyan kanya ng ideya na ito yung maximum in theory na dapat mong ma-produce. Si actual yield naman ay ito yung actual na nagawa or ito yung actual na product kapag ginawa mo talaga mismo yung experiment or reaction. So, in layman's term, that's the idea between the difference and also difference rather of your theoretical and actual yield. Okay? Theoretical, in theory, shows you the maximum amount of product that could be produced, and then the actual yield gives you the amount of product that was actually obtained. Okay? Okay. Okay, so just a note that needs to be remembered. In the laboratory, percent yield is almost always less than 100%. So most of the time, your percent yield is, almost to always less than 100%. So most of the time, hindi na-attain na 100% ay lahat nakukuha. This means that the actual yield is less than the theoretical yield. So sabihin, may times po pag na-laboratory or scientific experiment, hindi po na-attain yung maximum. Say for example, ang theoretical or in paper or in writing, ang theory natin dapat 99% ang lalabas na produkto. Pero pag nakuha na natin yung actual yield or yung actual, okay, hindi na atin si 99. Most of the time, less than 99, 97, ganyan, basta less than. Okay? In experiments, it is actually difficult to obtain 100%. It's really difficult. It's really a challenge. Okay? It's a challenge to obtain 100%. Okay? Experiments is difficult to obtain 100% yield because the limiting reactant is not always fully consumed in most chemical reaction. Let me repeat. In experiments, it is difficult to obtain 100% yield because the limiting reactant is not always fully consumed in most chemical reactions. Okay? Okay. Again, sorry for the ambient noises that you may be hearing or currently hearing or will be hearing along the way. But nonetheless, let me continue. The content is much more important. Okay? Okay. Now, at this point, I'll be showing you the process of computing reaction yield by giving an example. So given the chemical reaction, you have here the chemical reaction and also some of the molar masses of some key substances are already provided. And we have here two questions. Let's tackle them one by one. Let's start with letter A. Okay? Or rather, computing for the first one, letter A. Okay? If 25 grams of iron 3 phosphate, so iron 3 phosphate is this one, FePO4, reacts with excess sodium sulfate. So sa tanong pa lang po, binanggit na excess reactant sodium sulfate, sa Na2SO4. So therefore, phosphate or therefore sa iron 3 phosphate or FePO4 si limiting. Kasi nga binanggit na ng excess si sodium sulfate. What is the Ty of iron 3 sulfate for the chemical reaction? And then for letter B, calculate the percent yield of the reaction if 18.5 grams of iron 3 sulfate was actually obtained. So sa letter B question, pinamigay or given na si AY. So given na tong numerator natin. So ibig sabihin, to solve for your percent yield, kailangan nating isolve si theoretical yield. Now how do we solve for theoretical yield? Si theoretical yield po ay manggagaling sa sagot mo kay letter A. So we're just backtracking it. Ibig sabihin, bago mo masagutan to sa letter B, si percent yield, dapat masolve mo muna si TY. Kaso hindi nga provided si TY, kailangan natin isolve from scratch. Your theoretical yield will be computed in question letter A. So gawin muna natin itong letter A bago tayo proceed with letter B. Okay? Okay. So let's start. The first thing that we need to do is always write the balanced chemical equation. So the balanced chemical equation is this one. So to save time, I already provided the balanced chemical equation. You have 2 FePO4 added with 3 Na2SO4 yields to your iron 3 sulfate. Okay. And then you just zoom it out. You have here 2 moles of here sodium phosphate. Okay. Okay. So next is compute for the theoretical yield. So we'll be computing for letter A, your Ty. So let us look at the given going back. Our given is 25 grams. 25 grams of iron 3 phosphate. So FePO4. So that means we need to compute for the theoretical yield. Now, what is asked for letter A is theoretical yield of iron 3 sulfate, Fe2SO4, 3. So again, the question is convert or using 25 grams of iron 3 phosphate, this one, FePO4, what will be the Ty or the theoretical yield of iron 3 sulfate? So your iron 3 sulfate is Fe2SO4, 3, this one. On the product side, yung given po natin ay itong FePO4. Na how will, paano po siya mangyayari? Okay? So, ang letter A or step letter A, ganito po sasagutan. So, ang given mo ay grams. Okay? Grams FePO4. Makinig, bibigay ko na yung parang procedure. Grams FePO4 ay gagawin mo ng moles of FePO4. And then, gagawin mo naman siyang moles of Fe2SO4, 3. And then, last but not the least, this will be the last step, is gagawin mo na siya ngayong grams of Fe2SO4, 3. So, ito po yung maging proseso on how to answer, or this is the procedure or the steps on how to compute for letter A, the theoretical yield. Using the given, grams FePO4, convert it into grams Fe2SO4, 3. How? Gram FePO4 translated into mole unit FePO4 translated into mole Fe2SO4, 3 translated in last but not the least your grams Fe2SO4, 3. So to convert the first part, you need your molar mass, and then the middle part you need your molar ratio, and then the last part you need your molar mass. So let me write. So good thing, so the first one is we need the molar mass of FePO4. It's already provided here. So I'll write 150.82 grams of iron 3 phosphate, and then this is 1 mole of iron 3 phosphate. So grams will be cancelled. I now have moles of FePO4. So nandito na ako. Second. Next is another conversion factor. Ang gagamitin ko naman daw po ay mole ratio. So mole ratio, mole all over mole. Mole ratio between FePO4 and Fe2SO4, 3. So ang ilalagay ko dito ay iron phosphate. This one is iron 3 sulfate. So look at the balanced chemical equation. My Fe2SO4, 3 is automatically 1 kapag wala po yung ayan po, pag wala pong numerical coefficient, that will be 1. And then for your FePO4, that will be 2. Ayan, galing dito. Okay? Okay. So this will be cancelled. I now have, or I'm now here at this part, mole Fe2SO43. Another conversion factor according to the problem, molar mass. Molar mass nino? Molar mass ni Fe2SO43, ni iron 3 sulfate. Buti na lang, provided na dito, 399.91. So I'll be writing here 1 mole of Fe2SO4. Let me zoom out, Fe4, 3, and then your 399.91 grams of Fe2SO4, 3. So cancel, cancel. I now have my desired unit, grams of Fe2 or iron 3 sulfate. Okay? So na-attain ko na ito, yung pinaka-goal. Okay? So input that one in the calculator. So I have the same solution with that of the PowerPoint. So 1 over 150.82, 1 over 2, and then 399.91 all over 1. So following correct significant figure of the given, we have 33. Okay? So this is your answer for letter A question. So check, meron ka ng letter A. How about letter B? For letter B, calculate the percent yield. So percent yield is equal to AY all over TY times 100. Okay? So, according to the problem, calculate for the percent yield of the reaction if 18.5 grams of iron 3 sulfate was actually obtained. So, dahil may word actually, we assume that the actual yield is 18.5 grams. So, meron ka na ngayong given na numerator. So, pwede mo na ma-solve. So, pwede ko nang lagay dito, percent yield is equal to 18.5 grams. Ano naman tong TY? Yung TY na yan, ito yan, yung kakasolve mo lang. So, yan yung rason kaya mo ginawa yung letter A. So, 33 grams times 100. Then, input that one to the calculator. So, I have the same solution with that of step 3. So, 18.5 grams all over 33 grams times 100, I have 56%. So, this is your percent yield. Okay? Okay. So, again, your AY is provided. This is most of the time provided by the problem. Kaya ngayon sa problem, di ba sinabi, actually obtained. So, you'll be using it as the numerator. And then your TY, your denominator, is the one you computed from letter A. Kaya mahalaga gawin tong letter A. Pero kung provided na si AY at TY from the problem, madali na lang. Divide times 100 na lang. But in this case, it was not provided. The denominator was not provided. That is why we've done step A. Okay? Okay. I hope you learned a thing or two in this particular topic on reaction yield. And I really appreciate you for tuning in this particular lesson. Again, thank you and have a great day.